to try and remember.
Once you get the computer, you can look right now if you want.
Is that going to help
An
you
area?
remember?
Google, you can look at Google right now if you want.
Well, you know the area, right?
I know the area. I'm trying to remember what's in it.
He's trying to remember what he has in it.
That's probably not going to be on Google.
No.
We can find that together, we'll just, open it up and do like Al Capone's vaults.
It's not that impressive. It's just, I'm more concerned about the little stuff that might be in it. Well. Things you never thought you'd be talking about. And then on the Tupper Lake thing, you had agents up there with the cameras, but you just wanted to talk about the bank robbery, or were you?
Well, what we had set up was we just had them at the bank robbery parking lot to show you the live feed that we could do.
We can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
We didn't have any expectations, but we thought the natural progression, because of
Right.
what we've been talking, would be in that general area, so we wanted to get things moving there.
Right.
You know, and if you wanted to just like pull out of the parking lot and then take us to the river bend, that would all the better.
Well,
But,
yeah, I was just.
You would be driving.
yeah, it would be like you'd be driving. So, because we thought maybe that's how it's going to have to be eventually, maybe is that you might have to be in the driver's seat, so to speak, to see, you know, landmarks or whatever you need to see.
Yeah.
Almost as good as being out.
I'd like to tell you we were going to drive you to the dig site and we were going to show you what we were doing, but
I'm having a harder time remembering roads in Port Angeles than I was in. I'm sure I can figure it out.
well, you need that computer for an hour or two to refresh your.
No, I just haven't driven this road. All right, well,
So we won't set it up, we'll just
We'll get them working on it though, because.
get their
it's-
tech.
Yeah, the tech geeky guy has to
Their geek
get
squad.
the camera and get everything all kind of set up.
right.
So we will get that moving, and then we can touch base with you at the beginning of next week. And have a better idea of what your schedule is going to be like, and figure out what everything. And I'll know at that point what their schedule is going to be, then we can maybe figure out some time that will work.
Yeah, we might be able to have another meeting next week anyway. Might have been- Apparently that was the issue tonight.
All right, what we may do then, Jeff and I may come by the jail and just figure out that piece that we were just talking about the timing, and then we can go from there.
In the meantime, I'm supposed to talk to them all tomorrow, and I'll just tell them that, just move them on, use other clues and use that to our advantage.
Yeah, I don't really understand the role we're not playing.
It's frustrating, from our perspective.
I mean, hypothetically, if they charge me federally, would they indict me up here, or would they, I just don't understand, considering everything else that's going on, why they would or I guess not why, but how it would work. I don't, like the logistics of it.
Well, they, you know, like I said, they want to be able to have that crime solved.
Right, they want to put my name on it, I
That's right.
understand that.
Yeah,
It's not going to be officially solved till,
Exactly.
I know, but, you know, they want to be able to put
Right.
your name to it.
Right,
and,
I
you know,
understand that.
And then the question is how that, you know, going to work. Do they want to file charges there? And, you know, that's what we're
Yeah.
doing.
And it's a lot easier for them just to stomach it if they, you know, their forbearance is giving rise to clues to other murders, you know, whatever those clues might be. I think
Yeah.
that is able to accomplish our goal.
I understand their perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
And from my perspective though, even if they were to officially charge me at this point, it's not like it would be real breaking news anyway.
I think, you know, in some ways it would be because no law enforcement person has ever confirmed that you're
Right.
attached to that, so.
It would just be confirmation of everyone's current speculation.
Exactly.
That's all I'm saying. So I'm not interested in it from that point, I was just interested in it from a logistics point. Like, where, do they have to fly me to Vermont, if they're gonna charge me, or
Well,
do it
that's,
here?
those are some of the questions.
We're hoping not to get there.
Is it warmer in Vermont?
They just got snow the other day. When we talked to them Monday, it just snowed, they told us.
They got more snow than us then.
Yeah.
Got a quota for last year.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I will round everybody up and.
You gotta take a leak or anything for me? Take you back? You're not gonna eat this?
No, I'm good, thank you.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. I guess what I'm saying is, that from my perspective at this point, it's a one-way street, and initially I thought there were ways that I could manipulate this situation, in this case, all the related cases, to my benefit and on my timeline by withholding information and giving information out. And obviously, over the last few months, I came to the realization that I can't do that, not realistically. So,
Is that your real reasoning?
yeah.
I think we talked about for a while, you know, an idea of this whole resolution on the Courier case, being able to kind of structure that disposition around some of your demands. And, you know, we touched upon that, and I know that, you know, we can't talk about the other case, but,
Right.
you know, it seems to me that, you know, if you give us a list of demands in connection with federal case on the Couriers, that we can try to at least start meeting those demands. And at least say, you know, to Vermont State that there's an expression of an intent to continue cooperation in exchange for these types of things.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. The problem is I don't have any typical demands, or there's not anything you can offer me at this point. And I realize that now. I realize that there's more to these cases than the people who sit in this room, and we're not the ones who pull all the strings on this. I'm realistic about that now. So. And because of things that have happened over the last couple months, I just feel like there's a lot of information that I've given out to date that 20/20 hindsight I wouldn't have given out, because I feel like now, no matter what I do, it's going to become public anyway. Whereas if I hadn't given it out, you know, it wouldn't have, because you wouldn't have it, the information to give out. in the first place?
Well, I mean, from our perspective, we've done a lot to respect your wishes about keeping the publicity low on this case, and I think if you recall, you told us that yeah, you understand that we've done that. Now, over time, as things have slowed down and we haven't learned about the crimes, then the FBI and authorities around the country have to take certain steps. Right? I think the search warrant is an example that they said, hey, look, give us a reason to tell their bosses why they didn't need to do a search warrant to release house. Why they didn't need to move forward, but they didn't have any reason. So I think you can see that we can have a lot of control when we have some information from you and cooperation from you. If we don't, then we all lose control.
And even Vermont's letter that I recall, they had this letter about, all right, you provide this, and we just kind of sit back and we don't get involved. And that's the thrust of that letter. And I think what happened in Vermont after that was sort of a function of, we're sort of not going along with that deal. And so I think that's what ended up happening there. I understand your perspective, but at the same time, I think there is a way to structure a deal around the couriers to satisfy some of your goals. Maybe not every one of them, but we can't do that unless we sort of have an exchange for future cooperation. Here's what I want to happen in the courier case. If we have that, I think that's a little bit more concrete to that.
The only reason the courier case has even become an issue is because of me wanting to keep control of that situation before it became a situation. That's why we talked about it in the first place. Those loose ends, whatever you want to call it. That was my concern. As far as long-term, clearly the whole situation is going to turn into longer term than I anticipated, even from my perspective. And so my position on it at this point is, you're asking for more information, and I am still waiting to see what happens with the information I've already given. So essentially, what can happen is, it becomes a one-way street until I see what comes out the other end on some of these other issues.
Well, we're also looking at, from what you expressed earlier, the time frame. You all said, are we going to be sitting here a year from now? And this was going back 4 months or 5 months. So we're getting a lot closer, I think, to the year from now. Because we've also talked about the way that Vermont initially came out. We were all kind of haven't fully prepared for what could happen in Vermont, right? You've said it, we've said it. And we've learned things from how we dealt with Vermont that would not necessarily be repeated in other jurisdictions. So, we have information about if it's in another jurisdiction, we can approach them without even giving them any details.
I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, I feel like there's been several, I don't want to say breach of trust, because I know we don't trust each other, but based on initial things that were said verbally. Nothing in writing. I know we didn't have agreements hard and fast. I just feel like, especially with the last search warrants that were executed, it was done in a way that was clearly contrary to what my initial intentions were for the way this whole thing would play out. And, I hear what you're saying as far as it has to be done, but what I'm doubtful about is the motivation for doing it. Your motivation, or the FBI, whoever sanction that, their motivation for doing it in the way that they did it.
Well, hey, like you said, you're gonna be suspicious of us, we're gonna be suspicious of you, but frankly, when we've sat down in this room, everyone here is trying to play straight with you. And I think if you understand the reality of the situation, and you're a pretty reality-based guy, I mean, you understand how the world works, is, once you stop telling us significant information about other crimes, then these guys couldn't control what the rest of the FBI is going to do. And the playbook says, if you've got a serial killer, you're going to have to go through that house, right, with a fine-tooth comb. Even though they can say, hey, Israel's told us there's nothing there. Well, they're going to do it. And the only way to hold that off is to say, well, look, he's cooperating, he's giving us information. But when we stop, then there's going to be consequences. We're trying to be as reality-based about this thing. We've always given you what we thought was actually going to happen in the real world. And it's the same thing from Vermont. If we had had more information from Vermont, maybe Vermont would have been a whole lot more quiet and cooperative. As it is, they've been really cooperative, right? They haven't filed any charges, but how long can we hold on to them without another piece of information? So,
you're a reasonable person. Don't you think use somebody else for an example, like this type of case, someone who's not cooperating and not talking with law enforcement, don't you think that if this would have been viral across the United States, every place you've ever been, don't you think that, if you hadn't been talking to us, we don't have any other choice but to try to do it on our own and use all the information that we've put together about you and your whereabouts and put it out to those communities for help. And we haven't done that because you've been talking with us.
Even the stuff that you've done, you guys did, I think, a pretty good job, even on the search warrants. There were no statements in the press that were looking for evidence of other crimes. No one stood in front of a camera and did that. The cameras, may have shown up, but no one said a word. And we hope to still moving forward on this.
You only be so discreet about doing something on like a street that's 6 houses long.
Well, especially if you block it off.
Yeah, we were trying to prevent people who we didn't want there to getting into that, but you can't stop.
I'm just saying, you've got to go by your playbook, but I refuse to accept that there weren't ways you couldn't have been more discreet or more. That's just my impression. I have nothing to go on other than what I see and my gut feeling on stuff at this point, because I feel like I get the trickle-down bullshit from all parties involved. So, that may or may not be the case, but that's just where I feel like I'm at right now.
right, we can't change your feeling, but we can, we've always come into this room trying to give you the straight scoop. And we've tried to deal with you that way, because we know that you're a smart guy and you know how the world works. And what I'm sensing, what you're telling me now is you're trying to, look at us as if we've been, manipulating you somehow.
No, I don't think anyone in this room has been manipulating. That's not my concern right now. My concern, you're asking for more information. You talked about it going viral. If I give you any more information and it somehow gets out and it gets in the paper again, one more snippet of information could push the whole thing over the edge, and then for the time being, as many times as it's been in the paper and there's still all this speculation, it hasn't really taken off.
And why do you think that is?
Well, I know it's because you haven't been giving official statements that you could, which I do appreciate that aspect of it. What I'm saying is, until I know what's going to happen with certain current issues, my big concern is that another rumor gets out. It doesn't have to come from you, just another rumor from somebody, I don't know. And then, I'm no longer in touch with all the different, I don't even know what's being said in the media or what has been said about the stories. I see little snippets here and there, but that's my concern, is that, if something else were to get out, and especially in a different area or something, then, and now there's the whole Mia Bay aspect of it now too, my kids live in Neah Bay now, and gossip is the town pastime, so that's my concern right now is it doesn't even have to be, I feel like at this point, it wouldn't even have to be something that was confirmed, it could just be a rumor, and
Well, you're not gonna get rumors coming out from us, and you haven't so far. The stuff that's come out is when when the people outside of this room feel like that you're not being forthcoming.
Right, I know.
And we can be advocates for how we want to pursue this case, but we need something we need material, we need currency, we need something to advocate with. And that's what that's exactly what we've told you for the last 6 months or more.
yeah, I understand that.
So,
What about, I mean,